Very good morning, all of you. Welcome to my session. Today's topic is frame event and form event. This is under module number 3. This is a concept of JavaScript. And now we will see what is frame events. These are the events the browser frame that contains your web page. So the page which resides inside the browser, and this events we can call it as a frame events, and the most important event is onload event, and which tells us an object is loaded and therefore ready to work with, and the code to set up a listener on this not yet loaded if the error get triggered. And here we can see the syntax window dot onload equal to function. If you see use, you can go for the current descriptor event, and the events over here and its description. On abort, by using this on abort, an object was stopped from loading. Object is nothing but whatever the content inside the browser or any HTML page, we can it as an object. And on error means what? An object or image did not properly loaded. And on load, when a document or object has been loaded. And then resize, if you want to go for resize something, if you want to your document view to get resize, means you can go for on resize. On scroll, the document view was scrolled. Unload, if you want your document has to be unloaded, then you can go for this event. And forms, forms, when we see when we are going to see these forms, the thing we have to understand here is, before submitting any forms, it just checks whether the form is having a related information or any required information or not. If the information is not sufficient manner, or if the information is not available, it shows automatically, you will be getting some alert message. Otherwise you will be getting a returning false statement. You mean pre-validating. So writing code to pre-validate forms on the client side will reduce the number of incorrect submissions, thereby reducing the server load. Some common validation activities including email validation, number validation, and data validation. For example, when we see this data validation, in this data validation, we have some we do have some required information, like user has to give the proper information, in the form of date format or rules, and correct, and it should be useful. So this is how data validation, and this forms will work like automatically it will work like this forms will be called by the JavaScript, and otherwise we can say it as a browser. So now we'll see the next how we can validate forms in empty field. And we need to understand IE 9 and later versions won't support this automatic form submission. Before submitting any form, once forms get submitted, then only the call it will called automatically. Otherwise, you will getting a alert message like there is no any information, or the information is present here is not valid. Otherwise the user has to give a proper information like that. So validation, how we can come to know this is a validation. If for example in when we go for your student registration form, we do have a username and password. Otherwise we can say it is a login form. In that password is having a predefined rules. This was provided by the system and against the users. And once if any user is giving a wrong format, or he is giving an alpha in either as a number or letters, only numbers or only letters, means then there should be an issue while submitting forms. So is this a validation, right? So this issue will be going to UI to validate, and it just pass to the URL, and then the user can see the nice message. A simple validation script to check for empty fields. Before submitting any form, we can see here. Um, Before submitting the forms, we can see in this, the field value is equal to document.get element by id of username dot value. So the field was empty. If the condition is checking here, if field value is equal to null, so the field was empty. So stop from submission. What it will happen? You will be getting an alert message, pop-up message, like the field is getting empty and it returning false statement. So by preventing this default behavior, so you can use e dot prevent default. E is a parameter named once error get triggered, and now tell the user something went wrong. So you must enter a username, like that it will come. So this is how validation forms. And notifying the user what is it and how to fix it. So this is the example for the what user has given wrong statement or where it gets fixed. Like you have to see the proper destination, and you have to fix the solution to that particular problem. And this is the type of input validation. Like we can say it as a data validation. Automatical call will happens in this, and we need required information from the user and correct data type and correct format, and we can compare also. If for example for any recharge, going for recharge and all, we have to give two numbers at the same time to just comparing this, the numbers which you are giving is same or not. So that is how we can do the validation and required information in the sense. Some data fields just cannot be left empty. For example, the principal name of things or people is usually need a required field, and like emails, phones, or passwords are typically required values. Otherwise, it won't. You will get an error message. Otherwise, the forms will not get submitted. So correct data type. Some input fields must follow for its data type in order to be considered valid, and the type should be correct data. It will expect. And correct format. Normally we do have some predefined rules for passwords or any other date formats and all. Some information like postal codes, credit card numbers, and social security numbers have to follow certain pattern rules. Like format, for example, if you are going date, it should be in some format. Otherwise, if you go for a password, it should be in the mixed alphanumeric format, like that. And comparison. As I told already, the most common example of this type of validation is entering passwords. So most of the sites require the user to enter password types to ensure the two entered value. So this we can do compare this input validation and range check. So how we can check the range? Information like numbers and dates have infinite possible values. So numbers will be exactly infinite, and dates will be exactly infinite. So that we have to check the range also, like what is the from to, like we can numbers in the sense from 0 to which one, and like that we have to check the range or statistics. And most systems need numbers and dates to fall within a realistic ranges. So for example, if you go for any report, work done report, or weekly work done, or monthly work done report, then you will just need realistic ranges to check from which date to which data. Now custom, some validations are very unique to a particular application that we need to overcome. And notifying the user we found an error, how, so what is the problem and where is the problem, and if it is there, how I can fix it. So these are the things which we can rectify, like what is the problem. So user do not go for any lengthy to determine what needs to be changed, and like that they just expect like visually clear and textually concise message. So because of going for long descriptions and all, they do have some they will get some conflicts in between the descriptions or any statements. So that if they have a clear cut idea, that means they will be it will be easy for them to find out what is the problem and where is the problem. So some type of error indication should be located near the field that generated the problem. So where is the, in the sense you have to find out the uh, location, like URL unit. So you have to find out the URL or location path where it has been placed. Next, if it is there, then how you can fix it. For example, don't just tell the user that a date is in the wrong format. Now tell him or her what format you are expecting, like the date should be year, month, or date format. So this is how. And one more thing we can say, like sometimes user has been in the existing system, then the exception case. So this is also one type of problem we can find out. And so the format should be in a predefined way. So this is the example we already discussed in previous slide. And how you can reduce the validation errors. So you can prevent validation before submitting any forms, as we already discussed this one. So before submitting any forms, you will be getting a pop-up message that your field don't have any information, required information. Otherwise, you will be getting a statement called false. So so that you will be in alert side.